Adam Rain.
Sweet.
Brother, thank you for coming on the pod and doing this. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So, for anyone who doesn't know you, for anyone who's listening to the pod who may be unfamiliar with who you are, give us a little synopsis of what you do.
Well, so I went to CNS High School, which is where Rob went to, from Syracuse, of course. Whole family's from Syracuse. But once I graduated high school, I moved out to Las Vegas and got my real estate license, started selling real estate.
That's amazing, brother. So, I got so many questions about that whole middle process. I got questions about real estate. You look like you're killing it. You're a real young dude. How old are you?
19.
19. And you're selling homes out in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Incredible. Incredible. So I want to know how you got into it. I want to know all about your journey to getting there, all that sort of stuff. But I'd love to start with a little bit of backstory. It's kind of how we do things here on Free Coffee. So, man, what was childhood like for you? I know you said you went to CNS. For anyone who doesn't know, that's Cicero North Syracuse, in upstate New York. But what was childhood like? Were you more in the sticks? Were you more in the suburbs?
No, I grew up in the suburbs, North Syracuse, actually, in the village.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
What'd that look like? Were you slinging lemonade stands as a kid? Were you working jobs? Were you a good student? What was childhood like for you?
Yeah, so I was a pretty I like to think I was a good kid, looking back. I'm like, if I had a kid like me, I think he'd be a pretty cool kid. So I was kind of a, classic kid, hanging out outside all the time, riding bikes with the friends and doing kind of the old school way of making money, raking leaves, shoveling snow during the winters,
Hmm.
mowing the lawn for my parents once in a while and getting a little, a couple extra bucks for that.
Were you,
So that was kind of my thing. And yeah, I was good in school up until high school pretty much is when I kind of lost the passion for it, I guess.
so what was happening? Were you just like, I have better thing? Oops, sorry about that. I have better things I can be doing with my time. Were you just bored of it? Why did it drop off in high school?
So the big thing was I was learning about things that I didn't really care about and I felt like weren't going to apply later on in life.
Hmm.
So I recently heard Gary Vee actually say something about it. Like you're not lazy, you just aren't passionate, which
Mm,
is exactly how I was in high school.
hmm. I love that, man. I was the same way for the most part. I went to a private school as a kid, like up to third grade. Then that school closed, and I went to public school. And as soon as I went to public school, I made some friends, and I realized like, oh, people don't do their homework sometimes. Like you can just not do your homework, and I realized like, oh, I can be like slinging lemonade stands as a kid instead of doing homework. I was like, this is lit. Um,
Yep.
I love that. No, that's pretty cool. Were you a pretty ambitious kid? Were you into sports at all?
I wasn't big into sports in like elementary, middle school.
Hmm.
I did that kind of the music thing. I played guitar for a few years there. And then once seventh grade rolled around, I got into swimming. So swimming was my big thing. Did that all through high school, was the captain senior year. Had a lot of fun with that.
Nice. And was college kind of in the cards for you, or did you decide pretty early on that that wasn't for you? Did you end up going? What did that look like, and how were you thinking about it in high school?
So I remember I think it was 10th grade. I was kind of tossing around the idea, but maybe I knew I wanted to do something real estate related. So I thought maybe I'd go into some schools have like real estate based degrees. So I considered that for a while and then watched some YouTubers like Meet Kevin, Graham Stephan, and they talked about how they got in it right out of high school because you can learn so much in the field based on with actual experience versus going to college. So I was like, if I can get the same experience or better experience, then why would I go to college? Like if I can work in the field and sell real estate for 4 years and I'll know more about selling real estate than if I had just gone to college.
I completely agree. I'm not in real estate, but I watch those same people on YouTube, and definitely think they're completely right. But why were you thinking in 10th grade real estate? How did that come about, into and become something that you were like, I want to do this?
So it really started eighth grade, summer after eighth grade. My family came to Vegas for a family vacation and to visit my aunt and uncle that live out here. And my uncle had just sold his phone company, so he basically ran phone systems for like grocery stores and stuff like that.
Hmm.
He had just sold his company and was getting into real estate, so he was flipping houses and got his real estate license. And we were kind of talking about the numbers. I asked him like how much he makes doing that because he was super open about it. And once I heard the numbers, I was like, that sounds pretty good. And I knew he didn't go to college. So that's kind of where the seed was planted with real estate.
Yeah.
And then after that summer, I started coming out here by myself every summer just to visit with them. I kind of hang out with him, watch him do the real estate thing, help him on flips, like go check out the properties with him and stuff like that. And that's kind of where it started.
How were your parents through like that process? Were they pushing you to go to school, or were they more pushing you to go into, your passion?
No, my parents were super supportive about it, super supportive. I mean, my mom's a big college person. I mean, she's got a master's degree and, she's big on college, but she never really like forced it on me. She said, this is, what you feel like you want to do, then go for it.
Nice. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool and really rare for the most part. I feel like most parents would be like, yeah, yeah, little Adam, 10, college,
Yeah.
real estate's gonna be there when you get out of school, sort of thing. But that's pretty cool, man. You're so young, and to be in the game, slinging the type of houses that you are. For anyone who's listening, gotta follow this man on Instagram because you post some pretty crazy homes that you're showing and listing and stuff like that. So it's clearly gone pretty well for you so far. What was the reason that you, other than your family out there, what drew you to Vegas? Why did you want to sell in Vegas, or was it strictly just family?
So the family was kind of the main thing.
Hmm.
I had my uncle to kind of mentor me as I got into the business, but of course, I could have just stayed in Syracuse and done the same thing. But I knew that homes are priced higher here. Higher priced homes means bigger commissions. I was actually just talking to, I did a kind of a conference call with one of my high school classes last week. And my teacher, former teacher, he's also a real estate agent on the side. And he was telling me that the average price point is like 180 or 190 in Syracuse right now.
Hmm.
And here it's 345 as of now. So, you're talking almost double the price. So you're talking almost double the commission. On top of that, I wanted to do luxury real estate. So Syracuse, obviously not much really luxury real estate. There's $1 million homes here and there, but they're few and far between. In Skinny Atlas and like maybe some in Fayetteville, stuff like that. But they're definitely not as common as they are in Vegas. Like there's literally thousands of $1 million homes here.
Yeah, absolutely. My
Plus the weather was a big benefit too.
Vegas is just I mean, it's just a much warmer place, right? I mean, you got a
Mhm.
better climate there. Funny enough, my grandpa growing up would always tell me that if he had to do it over again, my grandpa was big into sales, big sales guy, and he said if he had it to do over again, right? If he could go back, he would sell the most expensive thing he could potentially find to sell because the commissions were always just bigger and it took the same amount of work to sell a rocket ship as it did like, a bunch of clothing, right? Like the principles are still the same. It takes a lot of work either way. You might as well be selling something expensive. So I
Right.
I, I think you're dead on. What I mean, man, was it were you nervous to come out to Vegas and like change your life and flip it? Like how did you even figure out who you were going to work for out there? All that sort of stuff. What was that process like?
Yeah. So I mean, it was definitely really scary moving from the town that I lived in my entire life with all my family and all my friends, and being young, 18 at the time, and boxing everything up and shipping it out there and bringing a whole bunch of bags on the plane with me. That was pretty scary. But and I didn't really know anyone when I moved here either. I didn't have any friends, so that was kind of like starting over.
Hmm.
But looking back, I think it was definitely worth it. It really changes you as a person, honestly. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but it really does. Like moving across the country and not knowing anyone and being super young and like jumping straight into this career, like really changes you as a person.
I believe it, brother. It's hard not to change with such a massive lifestyle adjustment. I mean, it's nearly impossible, right? And you're surrounded by all new influences. And how are you convincing people to let you, as a 19-year-old, sell their home, or trust you to find them a home? What are you doing? I mean, tell us about that, because it can't be all smooth sailing at such a young age.
Right. I mean, it comes up occasionally, like, oh, you look pretty young, but I mean, honestly, it's just about knowing your stuff. If you know your stuff, you know what to say, and you're confident, and confidence comes with knowing. So when you know the information, you know what to say,
Hmm.
you can convey that confidently. And once you're confident, you know what you're talking about, then people aren't really gonna doubt you.
How did you learn your stuff then? So talk to us about that. What was So you make it to Vegas, right? You're going through the process. Did you know real estate before then? Had you studied up, or did you learn when you got there?
So basically, I lifeguarded the summer before I moved here,
Okay.
and I worked at this apartment complex. There was no one ever at the pool, pretty much. So I literally just watched real estate YouTube videos for 8 hours a day, every day, all summer long, just to learn as much as I possibly could. And still, by the time I got my real estate license, I knew literally nothing. Like I knew that, average commission is like 3%. And I knew that, you can cold call people and like go door knocking to find sellers. But other than that, like I had no idea what to say, no idea what to do, no idea what the process of buying or selling a house even looked like. Because it was so hard to find that information when you don't know what to look for. You don't know what to type into Google.
Absolutely.
So basically, you learn a little bit in real estate school, in pre-licensing school, but none of it really applies after you get your license. It's just law and stuff like that, kind of
Hmm.
irrelevant things. But then you go to a brokerage that offers classes. Typically you do that when you're a new agent. You go to one that offers trainings and classes, so you can kind of know what you're doing. And then you also have to take these kind of state mandated tests, not tests, classes
Hmm.
that provide you some information that goes along with that. But I mean, honestly, a lot of it is being on the right team and having a good mentor above you that can teach you the entire process because there's so much to learn. Like I could get into it, but it'll take up the whole podcast.
How did you is there an age requirement to get your license?
Yeah, 18,
18.
and you gotta have a high school diploma or GED.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. So, what was going through your first your did you sell, your first home that you sold, right? Or deal that you closed? What was that process like? And were there any problems through it that you had that you wish you didn't have, or anything like that?
So, well, the first house that I put under contract. So the way it
Yeah.
works, you put a house under contract, and then it's in escrow, we call it, for like roughly 30 days, where you're doing inspections, appraisals, the loan is being approved, things like that.
Mhm.
So I had it in escrow March of last year, end of March. And then my buyers, which were both employees of casinos, they both lost their jobs like 2 days after we went under contract.
Oh my
And obviously,
God.
if you don't have a job, if you're unemployed, you can't get approved for a mortgage, especially a second one, is what they were doing. So that deal fell apart pretty quickly, which was kind of heartbreaking, being my like third month in the business, kind of, getting things going,
Yeah.
getting the ball rolling after a few months of doing open houses, which is where I met these people. And so that deal kind of fell apart, which obviously I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But
What'd you do? How'd you get back in the game? How did you kind of recoup from that?
yeah, so once COVID happened, they shut down open houses, which was my main source of getting leads and basically finding people to buy houses. Um, so that was kind of a hard hit because I didn't have like a ton of money to spend on marketing and advertising and stuff like that. I didn't really have much guidance, honestly, at the company I was at, as far as like cold calling and door knocking.
Hmm.
So I was kind of figuring it all out on my own. So I kind of, I still did some real estate stuff. I was still following up with these leads that I had met in the first 3 months of the year at open houses. And, but I kind of veered off course a little bit. My uncle was doing some flips at the time. So I actually helped him with those projects.
Nice.
And, we figured we couldn't really do much because of the virus. And this is when everything was like shut down. Like you were
Yeah.
just sitting at home all day because you couldn't do anything. So we decided, instead of paying someone to do the renovations, we'll just do it ourselves to pass the time and, save a few $1,000s
Mm-hmm.
from for contractors.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool to experience what it's like to actually like lay flooring and, tile a shower, stuff like that. Install cabinets in a kitchen and everything.
Yeah.
That was cool. I feel like that helped me in real estate a little bit. But then things kind of started to pick back up, and we saw the housing market here in Vegas stay pretty steady throughout those few months into the summer. So I actually closed my first deal in August, which was actually someone that I had met at an open house in February.
Nice, dude. Congrats. That's
Thank you.
amazing. So when COVID hit, everything shut down. Did you have any doubts? Were you ever, I guess, did you ever think like, oh shit, like this might not work out?